By Sunday, the 21st of March, households in England and Wales will receive a unique code through their letterboxes, which most will use to complete this year's census online. The census has been happening every 10 years since 1801, with the exception of 1941 during the Second World War. There's questions for the household of each person living inside, covering housing tenure, occupation, education, health, to name a few. The information will be used by local and national government to plan policy and allocate funds, and it's a legal requirement to take part. This year's census is happening in the middle of a pandemic, and there's arguably not been a more pressing time to have a snapshot of the nation. This year's census is also unique in that it's the second time Arab has appeared as an ethnic category for people who fill out the census. 240,000 people filled out that box in 2011. Yet experts believe based on evidence rather, that black and ethnic minority groups, including Arabs, may have had slightly lower rates of participation compared to the general population. Factors thought to be linked to this range from concerns about data confidentiality, racial stigmatization, through to difficulties in form filling and language barriers. This year, the Office of National Statistics has recruited hundreds of engagement officers to reach out to minority groups. I caught up with Jane Ward, who's the local engagement officer for Ealing, a borough which is home to a large Arab population, to find out why she thinks Arabs should stand up and be counted.
There's no downside of filling in the census, but there is quite a lot of an upside in filling in the census, that we truly know the diverse nature of populations, and that those people who are in the position to make policy and do funding have proper good data on which to base their decisions or which to be judged on their decisions.
Jane added that for Arabs, the data gathered from the census could serve as the basis for lobbying at the local and national level for the issues which concern them.
But also to make sure that they can use that data to perhaps campaign or advocate for policy.
Experts believe that Arabs, like other ethnic minorities, may be reluctant when it comes to the ethnic minority question for fears of correlation with other variables, such as socioeconomic deprivation, crime involvement, or educational development, all of which may contribute to increased racial stigmatization of that group. This is linked to broader concerns about data confidentiality to some extent. I asked Jane what assurances the ONS could offer in this regard.
And I'd just like to say that the ONS, keeps that personal information safe. It's completely anonymised. So when the data is released to other people to use, nobody can be identified. It's not shared with other government agencies. It's not shared with the tax office or private landlords or private business. Your personal information is kept safe under lock and key for 100 years.
Another issue which has received more attention in this year's census than previous censuses is the inclusivity of certain categories and terms. The ethnic category of Arab, for example, includes a very diverse population with multiple national identities, religious affiliations and languages spoken. How would, for example, a Yazidi Iraqi identify in the census, or a Christian Copt from Egypt, for example? I asked Jane for her thoughts on this, and she said the online census this year addressed that issue head on.
Well, I think this is the great advantage of the online census, the digital first census, because the question about your ethnic group, there is another box, and there's a free type section, so you can identify exactly as you wish, as you choose, so that we can get into the detail of those different ethnic groups that are out there. So that's a great advantage of the digital first census, and I would advise people to complete online.
When census data for this year is released, it will provide the first comparative insight into British Arabs and key trends within their community. With a need to broaden representation in all sectors of society and importance of allocating resources to those in the community who need it most, there's perhaps never been a more important time to stand up and be counted.